Hey guys, Arkan Reporter here. Someone asked me to look at the books that I'm reading lately, that What I'm Reading series, so I thought to revitalize it. So let's have a look at what I'm reading. First up, Robert E. Howard. This is a collection of his horror stories. He wrote a shit ton of literature, all sort of pulp fiction type of stuff, weird fiction, pulp fiction, so on. Actually, no, that's wrong. You cannot use those terms interchangeably. He wrote pulp fiction. And I'm always a horror story guy, so I decided to get this book. September I got it there, and then I've been going through it at a very comfortable pace. I really enjoy everything I'm reading so far. As you can see by the contents, it's quite filled. There's a lot of stuff in it, and well, not a lot of the stories, but some of them are mythos tales. You know, he did some mythos tales, but as you can see, it's really not many. It's the ones with the black marks next to them. He did the mythos tales basically, because he was talking to Lovecraft, and then Lovecraft obviously urged him on. Well, Jesus, how's that for luck? This is probably the best mythos tale by Robert E. Howard. Really an exquisite story set in Hungary. You got voodoo orgies, as you see in the picture there. You got mentions of the various forbidden texts and what have you. It's really a brilliant story. I really like that one. But he has a lot of other ones. He has sort of a style which is a lot more direct and meat and potatoes compared to, the fine dining that is Lovecraft. And that's not a condescending comment to make, because sometimes meat and potatoes are something you really want instead of, filet mignon or however you want to call it. He has a few ship-focused stories. We just found one as well, and they're all sort of focused around this faring town. You could call it he's Innsmouth, he's Kingsport, because he sets a few stories there. Some are some of the stories are like verse poems like this. Others are just genuine short stories. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this book. I'm not going to do a full review of it. It's just looking at what I'm reading lately. This is one of them. Moving on. Another short story collection that I'm really loving is the Witcher series. Now, I've read this whole book already, and I burned through it in like 3 days. I took it with me on a trip to, where was I? Russia, and I felt appropriate to have Slavic literature with me, although this is written from a Polish perspective. This is a collection of short stories, all based in the Witcher universe. I played the games, but I never completed any of them, because I could see this is something I would sink 100 plus hours in, and I've done it for a few video games before, and I don't have the time for that now. But I picked up the books after the games, and no regrets. I love how Geralt is he's so down to earth, it's not like this struggling, tormented person. Well, he is to a degree, but he's doing this because he needs to pay bills, he needs to eat, he needs to drink, he's got to buy horse food for Roach, and also he just likes to have some drinks and get laid every now and then, just like a normal kind of guy. This is what appealed to me as well, as well as the fact that it also features Slavic, Polish mythology, which I'm not really familiar at all with. So I've read this one completely, and then I got this one, which is also a collection of the short stories. I haven't started reading it yet. I will read this, I loved it, but for now, other stuff to read. Move on. Now, I don't read just fiction. I am a bit of a non-fiction guy as well, as you'll see in these next two books. Firstly, The Voyages of Christopher Columbus. Cristobal Colon. So, this book is basically a collection of the texts that Columbus wrote, and amongst Columbus also his son, Hernando, or Fernando in some translations, and it's all presented in a chronological order. So some of these texts might not be in the chronological order as they were written actually in real life, but they are presented so it forms a cohesive narrative. What I really loved about this is that there is no sticking of the nose in from a modern perspective. This is merely the writings of people who were there on the ship. This guy, or this one, or this dude over here with the pipes. It's written by the people who were there, who were in charge. First Colombus, his entries into diaries and what have you. His son, who later came with him to future voyages, and the translation is obviously excellent. It flows so well to read. I'm a short story kind of guy, but this flows so well that I couldn't put the book down for hours at a time, and I reread many times a few key points that really stood out. Obviously, it was the first time that they got on to the land. When they landed there. I have been 3 times to the house in the Canary Islands where Cristobal, I'm saying in Spanish, Christopher Columbus stopped, and the chapel where he prayed. I was there. I walked in those same corridors as him, in the same streets that he was there. Hundreds of years. It just blows my mind. Anything to do with the Americas interests me. The discovery of them, the colonization, for good or bad. It was definitely not always the most prettiest things that happened there. And I know Columbus is a bit of a controversial figure these days in America.
But I never liked Columbus.
To that I'll just say, what I really like about this is that the text is presented without any commentary, like the editor saying, this arsehole Columbus, he came along. No, you're presented with the notes, the logbook entries and things that were coming from that time. You're presented with that. You make it up. You decide what to think. You're not getting some moral judgment or something. Moving on to something that does provide moral judgment, I'm sad to say. If you have read Julius Evola's Revolt Against the Modern World, or Oswald Spengler's Decline of the West, you may like something like this. Our Boy Lovecraft. Oh boy. Edited by S.T. Joshi. This is again non-fiction, and just to show you what it's basically about, it's a very big book, so excuse, I don't want to bump the tripod here, but just to show you what it's basically about, it's non-fiction. It's a look of Lovecraft's views on the various things that you see listed here. Now, it's not really something that Lovecraft wrote, right? In the sense that he didn't sit down and say, I'm going to write The Decline of the West. No, it's a collection of sort of his essays, snippets from his letters and things. So all this text that you're seeing here it's like 50% Lovecraft, 50% Joshi, I guess you could say. And then obviously has a lot of references, as you see like there, is referencing letters and what have you. And it looks at, well, as I mentioned, those other books, before I introduce this one, it's that type of theme. If you know these books, I don't need to explain it to you. And the title cannot be that much clearer. Lovecraft was not very optimistic about the way things are going to go in the world. And, well, it is political. It is political, I won't deny it. And philosophical, obviously. But he was right about a lot of stuff. He went overboard on some things, but I'm not going to defame the guy and say, oh, he's a fucking idiot or something. Oh, he's so immoral, bad, blah, blah, blah. It's his opinion. I got mine, he's got his. And that's the way I see it. Everyone can have their own opinion and should be free to speak it. But S.C. Joshi has a bit of a problem with that, because a lot of the time he will chastise Lovecraft, What he should have done is, like with the Columbus book, just present Lovecraft's views. Okay, this is Lovecraft's views on society. This is his views on religion, immigration, yada, yada, yada. But Joshi does that, but then he says, Lovecraft was so immoral to think this type of thing. It really shows his ignorance or whatever. Blow me with that, okay? I don't need that. So, it's a very good book. It's very big. And it was kind of pricey, actually, considering it's kind of flimsy and not the nicest material. But I think I paid like 35 Swiss francs for it, which is like $37. Anyway, moving on. Next up is a book that has really helped me develop as a person. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is also a sort of collection of thoughts that the man had. He was a Roman emperor, and he never intended to sit down. I guess kind of like the Lovecraft book. He never decided to sit down and say, yes, I'm going to write meditations, I'm going to have it published. How it works is that, you see, these are a lot of entries, that are written. They do not necessarily, this one doesn't necessarily have something to do with this one. It's all things he wrote to himself to reflect on later in life. And his philosophy is Stoicism. This is what he is famous for, along with what was his? Oh, sorry about that. The other guy, I just discovered him in a YouTube video. Epictetus, I think. Epictetus. He was also a big Stoic, and then this book has really helped me a lot in being a better human being, I feel. I always have a problem with dealing with things that are beyond my power. So, like, if you have no control over it, I'll still get pissed off that I have no control over it, that type of thing. I feel like, I hate when things are beyond my power and I can't do anything about it. It just makes me feel like maybe I haven't tried hard enough or something, but some things are beyond your control. Some shit just happens in life, and this really helped me with it. I really recommend this. Moving on to another book which is similar. Book is another book which has really helped me, but also had a lot of things I kind of knew already. But nonetheless, Dauntless by Marcus Follen, aka the Golden One.
Greetings, my glorious true friends. Today I want to show you my book gains I've made.
I have mentioned the Golden One previously on this channel. He's in the nutrition business. I think he also has a coffee brand. He does weightlifting. He's kind of seen as a sort of a nationalist type of person. He's into paganism, nationalism. He's big in those movements. All about self-improvement and being a better person, this type of thing. This book is a collection of his thoughts on how, he writes here, a handbook, the quest for enlightenment and glory. And this is what it is all about, becoming a better man. Now, women can certainly take away some things that are written in this book, but it's mainly for men. He addresses so many different subjects here. It's improving yourself through various methods: health, nutrition, weightlifting. He stresses a lot. Reading, intellectual pursuits, sex as well. He crosses onto a lot of different things. But as you see here, all the chapters, all the paragraphs, I should say, are pretty short, but they're very concise and to the point. Here we have Stoicism again. They're very concise and to the point. So it is really an invaluable handbook, basically. He's a bit of a divisive figure. Some think he is a white nationalist. Does my video get demonetized if I say those words? How does my friend always say it? The other, who white? White? You know who I'm talking about. But no, he has stated in this book that it is for young men, or men in general, of every race. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, your skin tone, your ethnic group, or anything like that. This is something that applies to us all. Here he talks of Odin and Thor, right? Okay. But there are, if you're Greek or something, it's no reason why you should think, oh, now I'm going to talk about Odin and Thor. And he's not talking about them as literal characters, So, if you're from, another part of the world where there is no Odin and Thor, there are parallels which you can see, take lessons from. That's what he's talking about. Having faith in something, things like this. It's really a recommended book. It's a bit hard to get. It's not really sold in many bookstores, but you can find it here, and I will obviously leave a link down below. Moving on. The final book we have is one I haven't read, but it is one I am looking forward to very much. I have recently discovered the Warhammer 40k world. Oh my god. I got into these lore videos on YouTube, And then this was recommended to me actually by the Golden One.
Now obviously you should start with the first books in the series to get, you know, the full narrative.
He's really big into reading and literature, and then he recommended this book. He likes a sort of historical fiction, but this is obviously fantasy fiction, but all with a good message behind it. Anyway, I haven't read it yet, but I've gotten into the Warhammer 40k thing, the world, and I just think the mythos is... fuck. You know, I thought it would be bad if we lived in the Lovecraft world, but this is off the hook insane. I'm going to start reading this probably tonight. I've been looking for a reason. I wanted to get into the Warhammer 40k world, but I don't play the games. There are a few video games out there which are good. I'm like a first-person shooter kind of guy, so I don't like the strategy games that much. But there was one called Warhammer 40k Space Marine or something, and that was pretty sweet. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. I know it's a whole series, let alone the Horus Heresy, which is a series in itself, but then there's another series, another. So it's quite daunting to get into the whole series. But I'm really looking forward to it. I hope some of you guys are into Warhammer 40k. I don't know if I'm ever going to make a video about that series or that mythos, but holy shit, it's impressive. Anyway, guys, these are the books that I am currently reading or in the process of beginning, in the case of that one. I like to mix and match, you know. Sometimes I feel like reading some horror, but sometimes I want to switch to, some historical real-life accounts. Sometimes I just want to get some advice about nutrition, things like this, you know. Sometimes I want some fantasy. So, a lot of the books that, I know it looks like, oh, look at this guy, he's a booktuber and he's showing off how much he can read and blah blah blah. No, come on. I read a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a mix and match. If I get bored, I got some more books over there. You know, I chop and change it a little bit, but these are the ones which I'm reading lately. So yeah, I'm going to leave, if any of these books look good to you, I'm going to leave a link in the video description below. If you use that link, you can go and pick them up at a very good price with free shipping to anywhere in the world. And I will disclose that although this isn't the motivation for making this video, I do get a slight little kickback from if you use the links in the video description. You know, it doesn't affect the price of the sale to you, but I get like 5% or something. So that allows me to get more books. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.